Hey guys, how are you doing? It's me, Karenann, macdonald. How are you guys doing? You're joining me. Oh my gosh, let's get with it here. We had a few minutes here. A lot of things going on today, this week, right? So I just had a fun thing because all of a sudden I was getting these calls and things are glitching and people's computers not working and PayPal. Anyone trying to do PayPal? It's down worldwide, you guys. So no one can take their money, transfer in or out. I'm like, oh my gosh. And if you can believe it, I actually had an email 10 minutes ago saying, because I actually start loaning people money. And I'm like, why? Well, I can't access the thing. I said, I can't. And I just got unfriended for that. And I thought, there we go. I mean, someone I hardly know on Facebook asking for money. I said, well, if it's PayPal, you're going to have to wait 24 hours. But I was unfriended before they could do anything. So, say la vie, easy come, easy go. So, there are a lot of people that are going to be dealing with these issues. And I went back in the history. I can see a few things have happened before, but I'm not part of the convoy. I'm not part of a lot of things, but it is a worldwide thing. So don't take it too personally. But, if you're expecting some money and to do transfers in and out, there's no transfers going in and out, I was told. And I did actually go on the phone and I waited like almost half an hour to talk to someone. She was really nice. And she says, you're not the only one calling in to verify. So things are happening. What can I tell you? And, it was an interesting day today because in our area here, we had a local osteopath and a brand new graduated chiropractor, a female, just, they moved into the area and they're setting up a practice, right? And so I contacted him a couple days ago. And while I was on my rounds today, went out to meet with them. And it was interesting, like, with the modalities and things like this. And they've got a tiny little room, can barely walk around. And I was expecting, because I've had my offices with chiropractors. I have talked with Dr. Namada Paul. I have talked with Dr. Dina Churchill, Norm Detillier. I was trained also with, met with Dr. David Hill at a Young Living with Gary Young. And of course, Norm Detillier at the Lighthouse. I mean, I've dealt, there's so many different chiropractors I've dealt with over the years. And trained and also done biofeedback with them. So I thought it was really funny because I went to go shake my hands. So, of course, I'm like, I've just been out to the market. My hands are dirty, not touching. So I automatically pull back. And, of course, I had my little air tamer on. And, that was okay. They were okay with that. I went to take a look, and I was there with a friend today. So the two of us are going in, we're checking it out. There's an open house for 4 hours. I'm not going in for the cookies, but, we'll see what's going on. So I wanted to see what kind of things they were doing, what they were open to. And it was interesting because I said, well, I'm really curious to see if you actually took the vaccine. Not at all. But, geez, better watch it. I'm on my own YouTube, right? Anyway, if you had taken the injection at all, or did you take something like a P.C.R? And they kind of looked at me and I said, well, I'm one of those people that react, right? And how many of you guys actually react to someone if you're near someone with that radiation in the biofield? And that was the thumbnail I put in because we're getting those biofields, right? And you're feeling that coming through at different levels, frequencies, and megahertz, right? That's why we get almost like motion sickness. Radiation feels a lot like it. It's almost like you've been on the sea too long, right? And then I said, I'm also in the people, not only that, I said, with the, as you want to call shedding, call it whatever you want, jumping, transmission, as we call contact axonosis, whatever. And they sat there and they go, well, no. I said, you haven't taken anything the last couple of years. Well, just maybe a flu thing, years ago. And I'm like, I don't buy that. Who hasn't taken, if you're going through schools? Almost every school, medical school I knew, except if you were in quantum medicine and biofeedback, made it. It was mandatory. They were just absolute, what kind of things were going on the last couple of years. And I sat there. There's nothing worse than I hate getting lied to. So, of course, I called Dr. Dina Churchill. I called a bunch of other people. I actually phoned to the colleges down in Ontario. Missed them both by about half an hour, but fine. I'm going to call them back anyway Monday. But I went through their criteria for not only chiropractic, but also for osteopathy, right? And this is the thing, people have got to start taking their own health seriously. And at least if you were dealing with someone that graduated before all this nonsense started in 2020, you maybe lucked out and don't have someone that took it. right? But no, not the ones here. And there's nothing worse. So I just double checked, and sure as crap, there's a whole bunch of things on those websites. And it was funny because Dr. Churchill just went, oh, geez, like, really? Like, not surprised, but like, oh my, OMG, she said, what are we going to do about this? But this was amazing to me, aside from what's all the crap going down in Nova Scotia, with what they're doing. Like, you can't go into the forest. Gosh knows you'll get a $28,000 Canadian fine, or something else, or in different areas, or they're starting to lock up different areas like lakes. You can't paddle, you can't do this, you can't do the water, you can't go here, blah, blah, blah. It's getting on and on and on. So anyway, she tells me that the NDs, which are naturopathic doctors, so the same thing, same basically, you got to have your arts, blah, 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 fine arts, and the medical. So there's not that much difference other than one likes to do drugs and the other one gives you homeopathics and herbs, right? And so anyway, they had to inject themselves in Nova Scotia. Can you imagine that? I was like, I already knew that they were captured. These agencies are captured. They are co-opted. And remember, the same people, whether it's FDA, Health Canada, it doesn't matter. They fund the same people and they toe the same line. So there's my pet peeve today. Like, I'm like, I cannot believe it. So then I'm going to add a little bit more just for the fuel today. So then there is a woman that's got a massage table plugged in to one of the local things by, again, the little market this morning in the square. And again, it's not a Beamer, but it's like that. It's a PMF thing. And she's got a couple of the same books I do, Jerry Tennant stuff and, Bryant stuff. And, I've had this stuff for years. It's not like it's bloody new to any of us. And so anyway, this is actually one of the ones I'll show you here, and I'll show you some of Jerry Tennant's. But anyway, she had these out there, and, just kind of, again, people buy things and they think they're all of a sudden bloody experts. Here's one of the books, and then she had another one with Dr. Tennant's, and I really highly recommend it because I have it here. And anyway, it's called Healing is Voltage. And so anyway, I broached it. I was just in the mood. I was on a roll. You guys have been so proud of me today because you got to drop the seed. You got to toe that line. This is like, it's got to hit the pavement these days. And so I went out and I said, so I'm a little curious, what are you doing, when you take in people and what's your intake like? Do you ask these questions? And she said, well, I have a little bit of an intake. And I said, but what's the questions you're asking? And she goes, well, they all have to sign a waiver. I said, no, that's not the way this goes. Suppose you hurt someone, or whatever, because I knew what I was driving at. She didn't know I was going yet, but I knew where I was going. And I said, well, I want to know if someone took injections or something up the nose, And she said, why would it matter? She said, it's only okay for a couple weeks, 2 weeks. And I said, where did you get that information? I said, these people are contagious and radiating and transmitting and shedding past their death. You can still go over. How many times did we have to see Geiger counters going over graves and, RF meters going off the charts and binary codes, the MAC address are coming up? I said, they don't stop. They keep going. I said, you're not actually putting these people on this bed, are you? I said, it really violates, literally standards, any kind of health standards. It's called do no harm. Could even violate a commandment or two. And she's like, what? And so anyway, literally, this is what happened. And she had the audacity to say to me, well, so many people are. What's the difference? Who cares? It's a big soup out there. I said, yeah, when you're putting them into turbo cancer, it sure as hell is, isn't it? Talk to someone. So again, those are things, just don't hesitate to ask. I was really, proud because I was with one of my friends and these people were considering going to these offices, right? They're not, we can't go to those offices if they're contaminated and they have no discernment. And worse, they have no education. They literally have got, these are, bona fide people coming out with, again, paper stuff, but no real education and no real health education. So that becomes an issue. So anyway, let me know, put a heart or a smiley face or something in the chat room. Let's see that you're there. Give me something. Let's see what's new and exciting. Does anyone have any questions today? We can start off with that. That'll be fun. So I want to talk a little bit, like I said, that's about getting into our thing. And like, we need to learn how to chill out, but we need to be able to deliver these kind of messages without freaking out people, but also without putting ourselves at risk and our friends at risk. So like I said, in small communities, it doesn't take long. And, I really got to hand it. I was talking to Lorraine Andrews today. She's got a clinic, that was initially in Kelowna, in what you call the Okanagan there in British Columbia, and moved, more up into the Shuswap area, into the Monashees and stuff. And, it was just amazing talking with her too. Like, we really got to come together. People, you need to find your tribes, need to find your community, and sometimes it's hard, but know where your people are. This is the time to reach out. There's so many weird things going on. How many of you guys have seen what's been going on in Canada and in the States in the weathers? And I mean, one of the other things too, I was just talking about, how many of you guys have seen what's going on with the deer? I mean, this is absolutely, absolutely insane. And you got to remember, they're thinking that over 100 million animals now have been injected with the M.RN.A technology, right? And now, as we're talking about all these sheddings and stuff like that, I'm going to put this in because I think it's really important. It's one of the things that came to me, and it's just, as I was on this roll today, there it came. I was really impressed. So I'm going to put this link in. Hopefully it's not too long, but you guys will be able to take a look at it here. Did it fit? No, it's over that. So I'll put it at the bottom of this thing later, but I'll put it on my Facebook for sure. But one of the things in here, I think it's all about what's going on in here. And we got to remember there are been billions and billions and billions of animals and ticks and fleas. And now I just got a thing from David while he's been on the road. And I get a thing about Grimbley, Ontario. Guess what? They've got planes just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And guess what they're releasing? Rabies. You'll love it. The stuff, you can't make this up. It's not the first time. I went back and looked at the history in that area in Ontario, 2017, 2023. And of course, they're going to do all this stuff over here again. So I want you to think about this, because when you inject any animal, whether it's livestock or your favorite little pet that you snuggle up with, there can be problems. And those problems then become an issue because those animals will start doing that. So it's just terrible, absolutely disgusting. So I'm going to just show you something. So how many of you guys have seen what I'm talking about? Are you guys clear as to what I'm actually talking about here? I'm just going to show you some pictures. Maybe I should put a censored warning. First of all, we got some stuff coming up. It was rabbits, and they're trying to tell us it's some sort of a bacterial disease. It's not. You can see Sabrina Wallace and all sorts of people have been talking about this. It's on rabbits. It's on deer. Take a look at this. And a lot of that, they're tying it to the Y-band, to the Internet of Things, to what they call the Internet of Animals. And this is tying into stuff they're saying with the graphene. This is just horrific, these mutations that have been going on. It's not just a cottontail little thing. Now it's showing up all over the place. So if you haven't seen this, take a look, because it's really all over the place that, we're starting to see this stuff. Okay? This is the kind of stuff that this kind of crap is hidden in. And I tell people that you've got to put a number 9 on the sticker or don't take it. So again, the mosquitoes, all this stuff is in there. So if you haven't taken a look at this, was something that was sent to me called Diva Drops. But I mean, if that doesn't hurt you, this is on top of the ticks, which are official bioweapons now, right? That you're getting these in bioagriculture, right? That are associated with the Lyme, all sorts of things right now. So, and again, a lot of people are getting allergic to meat, and they're finding they're getting very sick with the toxicity. I know people right now like Tony Pantalesco, who's kind of somewhat in the field of the nanotech. He's like an expert in that part. And he's actually going, and they are tasering their meat. Can you imagine tasering meat, you guys? I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. So anyway, that's another one up there that I think is, just horrendous. Some of the other things as well that, you start looking about what's going on here. Like I said, there is so much stuff that we have seen. It's where do you start? Like I said, it is so horrendous to see this. It just makes my heart break, just to see this kind of stuff in the environment. Like, did we ever think we'd be seeing stuff like this? And this is on my Facebook. So if you can see here, you guys, look at this deer. I mean, unbelievable when you actually start zooming in. This is not a little bacteria. It's not just some bizarre thing. And we're starting to see this in, again, right across the board. The water, the lakes, the air, the plants, everything is just cracking up right now. Like, we've never seen, right? Oh my gosh. It doesn't matter which way you look, there's got to be one thing going on or another. So one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention, we'll just kind of go through my Facebook a little bit here. This is some of the stuff I started looking at when I heard about these Ontario plains missing rabies. There it is. There it is. It starts coming in. You start digging, and here it is 3 days ago. Why are rabies vaccines, got to get it again, thrown into the garden beds? Saw in Ontario. So this is on Facebook. And then other things as well. You're seeing mRNA planes dropping this over Cambridge. I mean, this is not isolated. Here, you guys are going to see a real great little picture here. This is like Niagara Falls, Canada, the States up in here. So you're looking at going into here. Unbelievable. Okay, so what is he doing? It's not like, they've got plans for these things. So these are, again, some of the areas that you're seeing. Okay, controlled areas. It's in the paper. They're giving people notice. Here's the maps. Here they go. So, and again, no call signs, And there again, lots of stuff is going down, even BlackRock and Bitcoin. It's just been really, really busy in here. Okay, there's also some new things out. There's a new, Mike Adams is working on something called Enoch, which is, he's got a new version of it again that just came out a couple days ago. So that's at his Brighteon AI and stuff like that. So he's just releasing a new thing out on his Brighteon.ai. So lots of stuff is coming out in here. Really getting excited. If you guys haven't seen this, this is the Neurovisor. Oh my gosh, I got mine. I've been playing with it. We're going to have to do a whole session next Friday just on Neurovisor. I am absolutely stoked. I've been using it, running it with clients of mine and people in here, and fantastic results. I cannot touch just the essence of what this is, to have this over your head. And again, it doesn't have to be, but if it's over the eyes, what you're going to see will be fractals. You got 3 different types of light sessions going in on here. So this is actually creating waves and patterns. And of course, you're not going to do it, obviously, if you've got someone that's seizuring or has some photosensitivity or some common sense or just had eye surgery. Like, you're not going to do this with a fresh, cataract or something like that, or retinal detachment. So a little bit of common sense goes a long way, but just saying that. Anyway, but these are not only for fears, phobias, stress, relaxation, peak performance. Oh my gosh, athletes have been using these kind of neurovisors, and I've got to meet with Garnett Dupuy a few times, and now we've interfaced with our Genius, so I'm going to be doing all sorts of fun things. But this is what I've been doing with my clients. They're like laid out, chilled out, back in this recliner I'm in right now. Put the tunes on, right? Get them into the mode, get some essential oils on, get them on my amethyst bed. They're all snuggled up, tucked in, do a little reflexology, and then you put these lights on. Unbelievable what you're seeing for increase in decreased stress, increased focus, increased concentration, neuroplasticity, decalcifying the third eye. This has got to be the funnest thing I've ever seen here in a long time. And again, you are running these solfeggio tones and very subtle, very tranquil vibrations going in, just rebalancing the whole brain setup. It's just incredible. And we can even do microdosing. So you can do solfeggio tones, you could do tuning forks on there, you could actually do herbs, mushrooms, all sorts of stuff like that. Frankincense, microdosing with light and sound. Like, this is really where this is at. I mean, the statistics are actually off the wall. And again, we're not using any AI type of stuff. It's simply sound and lights with frequencies in there. So another thing people haven't heard of, I found this week, was I've been talking a little bit about pearl powder, which is literally ground up pearls. And people have been having some phenomenal success. You can take it orally. a teaspoon or so in your smoothies or with drinks or orange juice. But you know what we've been doing as well is you put a little bit of castor oil and you put a little bit of the pearl powder on facials and around the eyes. People's skin is improving. The amount of eye and vision, wow, major stats, just up there like with the DSMO. So again, these are some of the things we've seen here is that people were taking this pearl powder orally and also to their eyes like an eye cream, really, and going to bed with it. And I mean, look at the stats here. After 1 month, 66% of her patients have recovered from cataracts. So the amount of denseness in nutrition is, I mean, off the charts. This is helping for the tissue and replenishing there as well. So anyway, those are some really interesting things. Oh, I was putting something up just in case you know. That is about if you're LDS or in the Mormon church. That's normally what Mormons, if they've been temple recommended, wear underneath. They're called garments, by the way. So they like to think that their priests and priestesses actually are so sacred that they wouldn't wear like a Catholic collar or reverend collar or whatever denominational collar, that they're all with sacred Masonic little stitching underneath. But anyway, they've just decided they can go sleeveless now. So the prophet and the president of the LDS Mormon Church in Salt Lake City, they have given the high command. The women can start wearing and bearing their shoulders coming into whatever century. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting. So I wanted to bring a shout out here to also Sabrina Wallace and to Dorian at Dabuma-san, The Mind of Dabuma. He's got a Substack. You're going to see me posting a lot of that. You'll see me on Twitter, on my X account, going like nuts with that. Also with YouTube, he's been successful with, and also a little bit with Rumble. And the reason why is because we're telling you that this 6G is out. It's not going to be coming. It's out. It's being deployed in many areas. And when the 6G is on, you are actually walking because of all the nanotech that is in the interstitium. So I want you to think of it underneath the skin, every little bump here. And that 6G is being wired in. So they don't need to have a power. They don't need to have a battery. They don't need to put even an injection for you. This is now going on. And you are actually the walking battery for it. You're tethered in. So I want you to be very, very cognizant of this. And you can see this is an old article in some of those areas. 2023, guys, it's out in many areas. And you can see that it is drawing in from anything, especially Wi-Fi, different things along that line. So take a look at this in here. These are also some of the different areas as well I want you to take a look at that we've been noticing here. There are rings that are showing up all over the place. And they're dialing in literally. Can you imagine the electrical magnetics and radiation to produce something like this? All these towers are starting to glow up that you can see from the space stations. Not funny. This isn't just radar. And people are getting headaches. They'll feel discombobulated. Your whole nervous system, your vagal nerve, everything is being affected. It's like getting a mind wipe. It's like an electrical, magnetic lobotomy. So take a look at that. These areas are just huge right now. We're seeing them right across the board. Again, poor things. So you're getting shot at from all these areas. So do take a look at that. And this is what's showing up in the sky. This is from Mr. MB333. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Stefan Burns is showing it up. Earthmaster showing it up. Diamond showing it up. Suspicious Observers showing it up. Ben's got it. Leak Project. I mean, who isn't starting to see weird stuff like this? I mean, unbelievable stuff. And this is an example of, and if you haven't subscribed to this, there we go. The Mind of Dabuma right there on YouTube. So that was us the other day, again, making comments in there. You guys need to know how this is happening. I cannot stress this enough. And cheers out to Dorian's group, and Sabrina just popped in, and I've had the pleasure, I think it was July 24th, so probably just about, oh my gosh, almost a month ago. I did a show with them as well, and we're going to be getting together. There'll be Sabrina and myself, Sabrina, and also Eileen McKesnick, because I actually was helping with some stuff. Oh, speaking of that, in our local little ostrich situation, just to let you know, the courts turned them down. Okay, they said they are not going to interfere. So if you don't know about my big story and all the stories going on up here with the grifters and these bioweaponized hazard, again, biobirds, okay, non-birds anymore. They became non-birds the minute they got the injections. And well before it was a slaughterhouse they were using here. But now the court has said we're not interfering, and the Canadian Livestock and Inspection Agency, they want to put these animals down, because at some point, you cannot say you're healthy when you've had injections or got shed on. Just like you could have someone with cancer standing next to someone else that took an injection, next to someone that hasn't. And on visual, most people can't tell who's healthy or not. Again, dormancy, and things can be embedded. How many people have got congenital conditions? Things that are passed down familially. So anyway, take a look at that in here too. This is just it's a weird week. But that's why I've actually had a lot of people getting a hold of me. And if you want to have sessions, or you have concerns, or you just need a shoulder to cry on, I guess I could be it. So if you want to do some remote healing, we can do that on Zoom, FaceTime, Telegram, phone, whatever you like. And I really want to get this into people's hands, because seriously, there is like probably over a dozen of these different things that you could download and try on your iPad, tablet, or your phone, or if you got a Mac. Those sort of things are definitely doable. Definitely doable. And this is not an AI. It really is an analysis. Got to get a better word for this. But anyway, what they've come out with, and I think this is just so cool, because when we do actually your voice is going to go through a channel, through a synthesizer, and that speaker will give us a computer-like algorithm. And so it's not AI like ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff. What it is it's actually giving us a generous report here. So it can look at the stressor. So it's just like doing a graph like it's always done, but we're using some of this stuff. So it will also kind of look at the aura and the colors. So if you've got more dominance in one or two colors, it will help you with that. So the analysis intelligent report is now being there, optional if people want. So they're kind of fun to play with. I love this too. Actually, one of my neighbors down the road, Paul Harris, that worked with Dan Winter and the rest of all the boys, Quantify and Therify. These are, again, different kind of plasma enteropuck type of devices that you line between. You can see the amount of copper and stuff like that. Those are out. So those are been around for a while. Kind of some interesting stuff. And again, these are a little bit more high tech than people that are trying to sell, $200 worth of parts, and selling people this option or a knockoff fake version of it, not this kind of stuff, for $11,000 for $200 worth of parts. These, of course, again, are going to be several thousand. There's a couple different versions that are out right now. So there's the Quantify and the Therify. So I want you to think of those speakers, kind of similar to what we're doing with the Genius. Okay, so you can do stuff through plasma. You can do it through sound waves. And again, a lot of this, similar to that, I use also for facials, like kind of like a Tesla Violet Right. So there are some energy wands and things like that you can certainly get out there too. So doing a lot, again, with the DSMO. So do take a look. The Yummy Doctor, which is Dr. Amanda Vollmer, right? She's got a lot of stuff out. So do take a look at her stuff. Brilliant. Brilliant. She's getting stuff out here. Things are getting uncovered. First, it was like, the pyramids and everything underneath. Now we got some more monoliths going out. Look at this stuff that's coming out. And again, they're being captured on cameras. We're going to take it with a grain of salt. I'm sure they're going to pull the alien card pretty soon too here. I was showing people, because I get lots of calls every day or every couple of days. People are, where can I get the oils? Can I buy off you? I don't sell things ever. So I never send things out to people. I want you to see in there's Amazon.ca, Amazon.com. Okay. I want you to take a look, see where it says therapeutic. And if you have a question, phone them and ask them. There are many suppliers out there, and they can be put on the meridians, on your feet, on the skin, in water, all sorts of things. So again, this is the whole idea. Someone comes to me with the knee. I was putting the oils on these areas and then putting the tuning forks for that particular organ or frequency. So there's some really cool things called vibrational raindrop or sacred solfegial tones. This is a really fun way to do this. I've been like getting everyone all forked up here. High vibe Spice Girls and all forked up. So again, like I said, do a little bit of studies. They're really kind of fun. So you can have reflexology of the feet, the eyes, the arms, the ears, what we call auricular therapy, your tongue. All those things can be read. The iridology. So again, we were having a lot of fun with that. So, and again, start getting out into nature. Not only just get grounded and touch and feel it, smell those trees and go to the lake or to a beach. But if you're in a fairly clean area, get some of these wonderful things here. Here's some spruce. I've got spruce here and I got cedarwood and stuff like that. I'll just go out, soak it for a little bit in either some hydrogen peroxide or some MMS or some lemon essential oil or apple cider vinegar, some baking soda for about 10 15 minutes. And then you know what? Make some teas out of it. How rich is this? People are paying for these stupid supplements that are isolated and, again, semi-synthetic that don't break down. Look at this thing, vitamin C. There's things like maca. I just went past a whole bunch of like an empty lot, but there's a whole bunch of rose hips there. So I'm keeping my eye on them because once they get a little bit better, I'm going to go hit the rose hip thing. And of course, a lot of people are out getting Saskatoon berries right now and all sorts of berries were getting collected. Our stone plums are coming down, a lot of things like that. So we need to be able to go into our own yards or what you call guerrilla gardening or the 1 mile diet or foraging. Okay, because this is what's happening to the people that don't know what they're doing. This is, as a mom and a former neonatal nurse, this is absolutely breaking my heart to see right now what's happening to the death roll and the mortality of neonates, babies, and children. Keep this up. There's not going to be anything to be able to fix and to have for humanity here. So those are some of the things I just wanted to kind of bring to your attention. It's just absolutely, Deanie's in there. What was that? Oh, TGIF. It is TGIF today. I'm having my spout off moment and it'll be okay in a bit. If you guys have any questions, put it into the chat room. I'm going to be happy to come back and we're going to take a look at it here in a few minutes. Like I said, there is so many things going on in here. People just are just so unaware of some of these things, and what we can do. But, it actually takes a village, doesn't it? And even that little village is just you and those around you. It doesn't have to be big, but it's got to be fun. Pick your friends closely. Here, when we go into, again, my Facebook, this is my data share group. There's one of the villages. These are friends of mine putting them on here too. Fortunately, I love these grandmothers and everything else, but unfortunately, most of them took the you-know-what with the you-know-what in there, into the arm and up the nose. Okay, be careful. Do not be fooled. Grandmothers, tribe mothers, clan mothers, right? You should be the original wisdom and treaty and, your medicine women. And unfortunately, they've gotten affected. Okay, but there is something that's being opened up and we got to celebrate, for what they're doing and the attempt that they did. I was enjoying a little bit of this. Every once in a while, I really like tapping into something because you know what? Have you ever seen how vivacious and how excited and people are just moving like this, right? I said, let's have some uplifting. And one of the things, if you've got a chance to, is Sage Robbins is amazing. It's coming to the She Summit, on here. And this is something that you can actually go back and take a look at. But there's 3 different days that have been filmed for just a couple hours on YouTube and Facebook. There are some groups there. And I really want you to take a look because these people, and there's actually men in there too. It's not just for women. But anyway, this is actually really focusing on being as uplifting as you can. And mind is the matter. So, if you don't have to follow everyone's teachings or whatever, but when you see hundreds and thousands of people in there just feeling great and getting up and moving and doing stuff and very, very heartwarming women and some of the different testimonies I heard, people that were really needing to come out of their shell. They felt isolated. And it's the power. We have to celebrate everyone that makes that one step forward or, congratulate people. So this was called She's Unstoppable. And I want you to know that we are unstoppable, right? So take a look at it. It's all within. You can't be stopped. You're constantly moving forward. And that's the beauty about the energy here. So again, hey, we're looking at bizarre skies. I've seen bizarre stuff up here. One day it's clear, next day it's not. Next day we got fuzz. And I found a lot of my friends couldn't tell the difference between a cloud and a geoengineered chemtrail. So pointing that out. This, I had to phone my relatives and my friends in Saskatoon. Of course, grew up there, did my first clinics there. Haven't been away from that area too long. But this is what the people were waking up to over Saskatoon and not feeling too well, I might say. You've got to think about the energy and the mobility and what they're doing to create these, again, roll clouds and what's really in there and what you're going to be breathing and what the effects are going to be over the next weeks and months. Okay? So remember who you are, why you're here, and what we're here for, right? Because this is really serious stuff. So again, there's a hot spot, but this was interesting. Someone said they didn't want anything in Quebec, and apparently it came true. We better start putting our little vision boards together here. Okay, so you'll see things are in clumps, right? I even did that. That was another thing, like in the last week, because I went out into an area, I talked to them, and I said, you can't be that. I said, you seem like reasonable, intelligent people. I think you're fairly smart. Maybe it's been militarized a little too much, but you can't think all these fires just all started within a day. That's not the way this goes, naturally, right? And so I started pointing out what the difference between a direct energy weapon was. I'm just on a roll, and if it hits the right people, it hits the right people, on here. And I really want to give a shout out. Sabrina's done a workshop, and she's done almost like a little booklet. And I think, I forget how many pages it is, but this is some of the stuff from there. I want you guys to start taking a look at some of the informations. And how many of you have noticed the Schulman wave in the last couple of days? If you're not tired, a lot of people are there just vibrating, or they're just exactly the opposite. They're so adrenally exhausted and burnt out. So those whiteouts, they're affecting every different chakra and timeline. Okay, so take a look at this. Remember I showed you that weird little thing that was over? Well, here's another one. I mean, you can't make these kind of patterns up from the, what's going on in here. So again, our whole key is, again, whether we said your immune system, we talk about your energy field or the field or really the informational field, bio, life field, your energy around us. And again, it's in sections, just like how many of us have seen when you've been on the highway on a hot day and on the asphalt, you see that waving, right? The waves coming off, and those are the waves that are supposed to be coming off you. So when I take my cameras, I should be able to see a really large, very vibrant, this kind of color, not this kind of color on here. So it's going to be about taking command of what's within you in the biofield. And we were talking, Sabrina's got a different way of saying it. It's actually quite excellent to shunt, to block, right? And do these kind of different commands. And again, we've got a 4 different level thing that she puts out there. And Solana, bless your soul, Solana, Sherry teaches this 3 times a week for free. And I post it the day, which will be Wednesdays and Sundays, for sure, that you can go in and take a look and do what we're doing. A little meditation, little bit of mind is the matter. So it's kind of a little Qigong, Tai Chi. And we're talking about how to raise the biofield. But just by saying to block it and to shunt, you're actually given a command within that stuff that is programmable. So do take a look at this. I mean, this is where we're at. And there we go. There's Sherry. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Solana. So, and I think Deanie, you're in there too. So if you've got any comments, feel free. We'll put them in. So this is it. We're all showing stuff here. We want to get erect. And it's not a guy getting an erection. We're all going to get it. It's piloerection. It's getting every little hair follicle standing up like in a little antenna, like a little array. It's like you got all these little harps. Well, you're going to create your own harp. Angels, well, we do have our own harps. Anyway, so we're going to go in there. So it's also called fission. People call it the goosebumps, the truth bumps, the chicken skin, call it whatever you want. But just by thinking about it, you should be able to go through it in your mind or visually, and there it is. I can actually see what few of mine are standing up. So those are some very cool things. So do take a look at this, on here. So this is why we're saying that is what you should be able to do. If I said, block, shut, shield, and when I say shields up, all those hairs will start doing that. Now I want to see if you guys can do that. That's what we're aiming for. Look at that. So again, if you need to look these things up, how to do biofield practice. So there's Sabrina Wallace and a few other people. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. And again, get your music on. If you want something relaxing, you want to do a Tai Chi thing, she likes to get a little rev. Do you want some jazz? You want some hip hop? You want some West Coast? Whatever floats your boat. Okay, get up there. I usually like stuff that's been changed over to 432 or other frequencies. But, you know, if you're into rock, you're into rock. So again, we're seeing different changes within different people. There are so many things going on, even in the x-rays and stuff like this. These are a lot of things that are coming down. People have no idea. And I've been watching, you know, what's coming out of the national intelligence, what's coming out of these different, you know, governments and stuff. You've got to be ready. And you need to have some of these things we're pointing out. DSMO, great form of sulfur. Using that with aloe vera gel, using that with essential oils, getting it to penetrate. People have been using it on their eyes, dilute it, on their skin. It's a driver for essential oils. If you got any aches and pains, again, so much biofilm is creating leaky guts and all sorts of things that we're having malabsorption. So take a look at some of these things. A friend, I was using it on her the other day, and she says, this is what they use for cattle. I said, exactly. You know, but we've been using it there too. So again, cute little things. Everyone seems to miss this part, but I'm telling you, go start putting these into your consciousness here. Okay. These are very, very intelligent and people that have put their necks out and have been very well known. These are actually, there's one of the books in there too. I've got her book as well. So if you haven't had a chance to get that book, there's my book too. Okay. So learn some of these things. If they're kind of, you're not familiar with it, get aware of what we're doing in there. So Deanie says, yes, you love Selena's biofield classes. I do too, you know, and I think what we're going to do in there, imagine what people can do. And again, we're not charging anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to put this in. If people want to, they want to sign in for the form here. And again, it will be Tuesday, Wednesday. And when you get it, make sure this time you always have to put in what's called the password. So this is for biofield class. I'll put that in the chat room if you don't have that right now. Biofield class. And that is with Sherry. And she goes by Selena 0156 on Odyssey. So if you want to get a feel for what these classes are like or how people teach, again, different strokes for different folks, right? So, and what I'm going to also do is in the chat room, I'm going to put down my group media because that's where we're going to. And Deanie, do you have anything specific? A few other people, anything you want, just throw it in the chat right now. This is your chance to get things off your chest, or if you've had a burning question all week you were waiting to ask. We're going to do a few little tuning forks and a few other things to get us chilling out. And I'm really excited about that chill out because I think that's where we need to go into, right? And have so much fun that you don't know where to start. You know, one of the things in here, I want people to be very, very aware of what's been going on. And one of the things, I'm just going to show you a couple more things, and then we're going to get into some fun tuning forks and stuff here. But let's take a look. I don't know how many of you guys have got, oh, Judy's in here too. Awesome. One of the things too, I don't know how many of you guys got tattoos. I never did. I was always aware of dyes and different things along in that, but I want you to take a look in here. A lot of these things that you learn about when we're talking about metamaterials, again, unnatural semi-synthetics, polymers, zincs, nanoparticles, you'll hear polymeric, right? Bioactive particulates, liposomal, dendrimers. I mean, there's 101,000 ways to say these semi-synthetics. And that's where your graphene, see where all the stuff in here comes? Okay, fullerene, graphene, oxides, carbon nanotubules, which are like your carbon C60s guys, and silver nanoparticles, and all those sort of things at very high mesh. Again, the smaller the mesh, the more it penetrates, the more it goes up into the brain, the bigger the problems you're going to have. Okay, so when you start looking at some of these things, this is some of the issues. You just feel tired. You can feel anxiety. More so is it's creating a depressed immune system. Doesn't mean that you're off the wall. It means just the immune system could be off the wall, from concentrating to weight to eyes to visions to anything like that. Just the lack of energy, not sleeping well, because you can't release some of the toxins in the system. Okay. And I want you to see here, this is a very important part here. This is what we're starting to see is women a lot with large intestine, small intestine. I want you to see where all that stuff is caking off and can't be removed. Leaky gut creates the poisons now leaking out of the gut. That's what it is. Then you get the bugs. But I want you to start noticing the ovaries, the uterus, rectum, all those things, the tubes, all those sort of things. And you know what happens? This is actually one of the biggest causes. I want you to take a look at this bluey green, this light green and blue. That is the color that came out of my client after we detoxed her for like about 3 weeks. It wasn't her menstrual blood. This is someone that had chronic pain and was leading into all this. Once we started detoxing this, you need to warn the people. If you've got loved ones, that has got nanotechnology that's leaching into the interstitium and then is carried head to toe. The other thing it always reminded me of is when you have this and you have paints, if you know how things come with microwaves, like the spoon in the microwave, these are microscopic little paint spoons. So again, be very, very careful. These are things that, again, a lot of people are just not aware of. A lot of things in our areas too. Get involved. I made a lot of comments and educated a lot of people. They were still unaware that these things called MAID, you're assisted in death, which is basically, it's beyond euthanasia. It's waterboarding. It's actually drowning people in their own bloody secretions after you paralyze them. These are not peaceful ways to exit. They are torture that were actually changed in Gitmo and by the lethal injection for court-martial because they were considered so insanely inhumane. But no, they're going like, it was like candy out here. And by the way, these areas are leading in the world in these different statistics now. It's just absolutely disgusting. And again, all these things we were told, is it oxygen H2O? Is it peroxide H2O2? Is it bicarb NaHCO3? Hey, let's talk about water. Let's talk about Gerald Pollack. I was talking to Dr. Richard Miller the other day. He worked with Dr. Pollack that came up with the easy water, 4-stage of water. And guess what? H3O2. When you start working with living crystals and spring water, you are closer to H3O2. And there's other things I can go into as well. These are just showing up all over. I'm just getting fascinated by watching all the things. Oh, by the way, if you're up in this area, guess what? They want you to register your stoves and wood fireplaces because that's about to go too. It's getting just bizarre. You can't make this up. You can't walk on the forest on one coast and you can't burn a fire just about on the other. So you got to register them all. Remember what happens when you register something. It becomes part of their corporate things here. Lots of stuff. How many people are on top of this little, it's not just Canada, it's all the West Coast. The axial seamount is out there, and all these different fault lines are starting to move, flutter. The volcanoes are brewing. They're active. These are actually fissure lines and stuff like that. So you can actually, a little exaggerate it, but they're showing you where the fissures and actually are coming up underground. Okay, so there are a lot of cities right now, these fault lines, and they're starting to have crack lines. And I think if you've watched some of these, all the pipelines, you're having water pipelines, you're having gas, and you're having all sorts of different things exploding, and manholes, boom, just blowing up. I mean, look at the amount of pressure it takes to blow that up. So do be aware of these. These are like all over we're starting to see. And again, these aren't little. When you start seeing where these things are starting to move in each area, got to be aware of the earth changes, and that's why it's so important to keep our heads on straight here. So just trying to educate people where these are, where the areas are. Okay. Again, new neurovisors. These are some of the things too people always wanted. I just wanted to share a little bit of this. This is all exciting to me. These are some of the things I developed for the Insight Health app's Genius Biofeedback. So I actually made an iridology energetic scan, so we could actually do like sound waves and tap into the subconscious, into the biofield. And I started making iridology scans. I started making colon scans, and people always go, why are you so intent on your colon thing? Are you like anal? And I'm like, no, you guys are. But I really want you to see, can you see that colon here? I just love this. Do you notice the red down here? Okay, remember we deal in hertz, megahertz frequencies. Okay, your head, which is over here on the bottom of the ascending colon, just below that appendix there where it joins. So your head, that's the seventh chakra. Sixth, fifth, fourth, third in here, second, and into the first chakra. So you want to see where your head and your ass are connected. They're in the same frequency light spectrum, you guys. And if you were basically like a little neonate baby and a little fetus and a little zygote and all that in mommy's womb, that colon stretches from your mouth down to here. Remember, you're being fed by the umbilical cord and by the placenta and stuff, right? That then moves down this way. So whatever disease at whatever organ, so let's say up in the top right of your corner here where that blue is, that would be if someone is blocking the energy going to the pancreas. Oh my gosh, do they misdiagnose diabetes? All the time. Okay, if it's over on the other corner, it could be going to your throat and thyroid. Oh, guess what? Do you have a thyroid problem? Right? And all of these little notches are actually minerals. That's where the uptake of the minerals are. So all you have to do is get one little slimy pocket like I showed you before. Guess what? You're in a chemistry imbalance. Ooh, then they'll call it probably some psychiatric disease. Anyway, there we go. Teeth. All your teeth are meridians, right? So if you have had mercury fillings or accidents and stuff like that, or I've had all the above, you will see the shifting, the periodontal, but how it's been affecting the organs for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? I always get people to stick out their tongue, right? And one of the things in here is because I'm looking at your tongue. You'll see what and the reason why I'm doing it. Okay, looking at spinal assessment, chiropractic, but again, when you do raindrop or oils and we apply them along your black, well, where are they going into when you're going down? Boop, into the organ. Okay, so there's genius, there's all sorts of things. Again, getting into the layers, getting into the biofield. So let's say I'm just doing some smudging. Well, it's going to put smoke in some of the areas. A hydrosol will go in another area. Essential oil straight will mist into another. Steam will do another layer. So there's all those different things. We have to combine different crystals, megahertz to access technology. And that's why when we were doing matrix energetic, and I cannot emphasize enough, people that want to be touchy-feely, you just got to stop that. When you're doing Reiki, quantum touch, therapeutic touch, again, that's how they're loose harvesting. If someone's electrified and has been connected to the Y band, you are literally going like a microwave, like a direct energy weapon in there. So all they have to do is touch one of your areas or get that close, and they can create a hole in the ozone. You know, kind of like you see in the sky, it's being done to you. So take a look at that. I cannot stress enough, just simple things here, putting oils on your feet, putting, let's say, garlic, putting in things like onions, wrapping them up for the night, a little bit of saran wrap, get your old socks, and Bob's your uncle. There you go. Okay. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get a hold of me. I'm very easily available. So I'm going to check the chat room. Love, love, love Solano's classes. I agree with you, Judy, for sure. Deanie says anything will help. Judy says we love tuning forks. Nope, none. Register is legal. Recorded is lawful. Again, we're getting into when you start talking about the registrar and what it really means versus legalese versus law. One of the things, you're still speaking English, and the original languages in law are not either. So different thing altogether. So those are some of the things. So how many of you have got your essential oils? Let's go get some essential oils. I got a massive kit this week too. And what I'll do quite often is because I like certain things like different bottles. And I've got literally like a couple thousand oils in here, you guys, in the back. But one of the things I wanted to bring out for you, just to show you, if I may, if this doesn't make you guys all excited, how's that for essential oils? Therapeutic, by the way, you guys. Okay, so sometimes I like to get them for the color of the bottles because I hate when we have suppliers that are all the same stupid color. So, you know, my peppermints are all in here and I do them alphabetically. So you can see basically all the different essential oils here. And again, I can always refill them later with my favorite supplier. But shall we get our essential oils out? Now we're going to have fun. I mean, I have thousands here. I'm an aromatherapist, in case you didn't know. And one of the things I always recommend, essential oil desk references, pocket or the big versions back here, guys. Okay, I joke not. Those are, I think, a basis. And I do, which I have put in here before the PDF. So get your essential oils out. Okay, we're going to spray and mist. Get them in there. Lick them. Do whatever you want. Okay, let's get those things out. Peppermint, limes, oranges, all those things, right? And so we're going to go through, I think we'll have a little bit of fun. Should we do some tuning forks to start with? Okay, so remember how I showed you that biofield out here, right? So that's where we're going to start with. We're going to have different things. So I'm going to teach some basics here. Weighted, not weighted, okay? Weighted have got lower vibrations, but the lower the sound, the more vibration can be as a rule felt. The higher the frequencies, right? Well, then the higher, the lighter it is to the touch. Okay, so up here. So we're going to go through some fun ones and we're going to see what you guys like to respond to. So this is the kind of fun thing when you guys are there. And we're going to go into some different ones and we'll just kind of goof around here. It's going to be like tuning fork salad today. So what we're going to do, we're going to go with 417, which is Rake, a drop of golden sun. So at home, just for 30 seconds, when I hit this, you're going to go, Rake. Okay. So if you want, some people like these, I don't. You can also hit the side of it like a hockey puck. Just watch, because there's some different kind of things out there now. Some people like to hit their knee. I don't. I've got like a mouse pad here, right? Because if you actually take it off the other one, you'll be mixing sounds. But let's go with this. So we're going to go back to the Ray for a few seconds. Ray. And that's what you're supposed to do. It's not just about playing out here and doing things like this and killing your oils and doing vibrational raindrop like acupressure, okay? It's a sound. It's like doing biofeedback in a way. I use these because I'm used to the pitch. So I can actually comb, what we call combing or scanning through the biofield over someone's energy fields. And you can hear sometimes it will just go dead, or it will go twing, or it will feel hot or cold, or even the temperature. Something can change the vibration as you're going through. And you know that there's a spot there that needs to be looked at. It could be physical, mental, emotional. So a lot of times you can start out here. These are more your childhood issues as we come in increments, each one of those layers of the cake. Again, we're holding things on, and you don't know if it's physical, mental, emotional. So one of the things is to get it near your ears and try and match that sound. Okay, so there we go. That's one. Next thing, 396. And again, a lot of these are for liberating guilt, that kind of thing. You can go through that. A lot of that was based also a little bit on Louise Hay stuff, or a little bit on traditional Chinese medicine. You can go into things that are a little bit more in depth. And one of the more in-depth books I like is actually Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils. So we're actually I combine about 20 techniques in one, I think. But this is one of the ones I use, and that's what we're doing. So let's go with the 396. Ood. That was fun. Let's mix this up. We got a 432. And like I said, they can be just really simple things. You don't have to get elaborate there, right? 528, me, is for, as Dr. Len Horowitz used to say, or Jonathan Goldman, when I first started doing this about 30 years ago. And I got my first set of forks off the Jonathan Goldman's groups. Is that it was for me, was for miracles, not magic. Me. You can visualize. You can, whatever you can do. If you can combine therapies, you can do even an oil for each one of these. Did you know that? We could make up, I had the old charts I haven't used for years, but maybe it's time to start bringing some of that stuff out. The oils and the frequencies, the organs, the acupuncture, I used to have like a massive chart, not just the chiropractic, but the emotions, the oils, the frequencies, everything beyond there. So we can get some of those too. Okay, one of our favorite ones, F285. I'm going to go through each one. I've heard people have been getting back to me. This is doing things. They're getting rid of pain. Their cats and dogs are starting to come up there. Things like that. Leave the room. Stay at the room. These are going to be high. These are the C. This is 4,096. Right? Some woman was telling me today. I actually talked to someone. She was in. Where was I? I was in Australia today, and so she went and she just got a Genius. Actually, it's really cool. But anyway, she had these cute little forks. And she says, "Oh, they're 400." So I said, "No, they can't be. They're too small." 4,000 I buy, and so she held them up, and there they were. There's the 4,000, guys. Okay, 496C. That's considered to be the angelic realms. Very, very high. Okay, so there's a whole bunch I have here. Then we can play with all three. Right? That's a lot of frequency. That's getting up into a few other dimensions here. So, like I said, have some fun with this. The other thing, like I said, I really like to do a lot of is a lot of people will hear about the Ohm or the Auto 128. And you can see I've got a whole bunch other ones in here, like 136. I got a whole slew of weighted, and again, you can get pitches, and they've got little things in here you can actually use similar to a little screwdriver, but you can actually tune the pitches too. So these are, again, if they come out, you can also move these up and down. That's what they're there for. But these are really amazing. And again, you'll see me, like I had a client this week and the knee's totally swollen, in pain. I had that happen too. But I started doing these, moving through the whole body up and down the meridians. And then wherever the blocks were, just letting them sit there and vibrate. Their entire sessions with these, right? So I can't emphasize enough. And a couple people got a hold of me actually after I was, they saw my comments. Someone had asked, what are the best kind of forks to get? And she mentioned that Eileen McKesnick was there. And then someone asked another question. She says, for gosh sakes, Karenann McDonald's in the chat room. She'll know. And I do. So I put down a lot of things, and we're going to take a look at some ideas for that. Because you know what? There are so many different people, and now everyone wants to be a sound healer. And I've seen them charging $400 up to $4,000, which I think is insane myself. And I think that's a bit of a scam, but we'll just leave it there. Really, this is stuff that I think people need to really be learning on their own. This is information that has been around here for thousands of years. And these kind of albums, I'm going to take you to actually my tuning fork library here. So let's just take a look at that, shall we, for a minute? And then I'll come back and we'll check here for some comments in a few minutes. We're doing okay. We'll go for another 15 minutes or so. And there's Brent. Welcome. So we're going to go into the tuning fork idea. So I'm into my PowerPoints here, shows I've done before. So there's 53, and there's a lot more in there. That's just pictures plus all the videos. Starting to put some of those in, creating my collection. So let's go to the tuning fork section here. Okay, there we go. Get this, 83 items. You don't think I can't put stuff in there? I'm going to put all of them in there. Okay, so let's take a look at all the comments here. How to stimulate the vagal nerve and reduce stress using a tuning fork. How to do sound healing with tuning forks, part 1 and part 2. Nikola Tesla, how did he use the vibrations? Because there was stuff to do with forks in there. There's actually, and I put this in the other day, this is from Sunread, and I've actually got some of those books in there. A lot of almost every one of these people I'm giving to are actually teachers within the field. And I just picked up a whole bunch of books on Amazon, and you can get them for next to nothing in here. But one of the ones in here too was Andrew Weaver. Excellent book. Okay. I didn't need the anatomy part here, you guys, but let me tell you, if you needed to know some, this is really well done. And the back part is how to do the therapies. Excellent, excellent book. And of course, my favorite new one I talked to you about was doing the vibrational solfeggio tones here. Okay. Sacred Solfeggio Raindrop Harmonics by Dr. Christy Bond Garrett. Excellent, excellent book. Herbs and oils combined, emotions, everything in here. She's got something like 130 different morphic fields that she's going through in here. I think you just gotta go with that. You know, Eileen, I've got several of her books here too. I mean, these are old ones that have been around for just about ever, but Tuning the Biofield, Electric Body, that's pretty standard. You know, Jonathan Goldman stuff in here, John White stuff, healing sounds, all these. There's something healing with the bioacoustics of nature, using advanced technology. Okay, all these things into biofeedback are absolutely amazing. Another great one here, healing energies, right? Another one in here. And there's John Ballew's book as well. But the reason I'm bringing this up to you is because of what I talked about. For those people, when we talked about where's a great thing, and I thought this was an excellent site that they actually had here, and he's got YouTubes. So he tells you where to begin. He's got a whole section here, where to begin. What's weighted versus unweighted? When should I buy them? What hurts? Do you have to buy from him? No. I said, go look around. Amazon, Etsy's got stuff, but I said, go put in tuning forks and put suppliers or bowls and suppliers, binaural phones, stuff like that. There are so many things, different octaves. Eileen's got stuff, but so do all these other people in here. This is amazing. So again, they've got little starter sets and some of the other stuff. They'll have gems on the bottom. They'll have boots where you slide them across. I thought this was absolutely excellent. So I'm going to put this in the chat room for you here. Okay, how to start doing alignments. And again, go to the YouTubes. Like seriously, go to the YouTubes. You know, on there, almost all of these people have channels. And, you know, do half an hour, watch a couple, 2 or 3 things. This one actually will tell you different things in here. You know, what are the different sounds here? Again, always meant to be doing when we're doing stuff, even when I do with biofeedback with people, always with headphones. Okay, brain tuners. You're getting in the delta, the theta, the alpha, and the beta. Okay, he's got different forks for this, you guys. Can you feel that? There's your binaural beats in there. Now, he's talking about the C and the G tuners. Again, go take a look. I thought this was one of the most brilliant ones that I'd seen out here for a while. I was in here for about an hour, just had like, you know, the most exciting time. You know, so if you really want to learn where he said, like you said, you can find all these basic ones. Almost everyone's got a kit of that, but pitches and stuff like that. So take a look through this site. I thought it was just amazing, like, you know, in here. So I'm going to put that in here. And then as we go back, learning about the forks, right? And then in there, I put in, because right now I am just having so much fun with the Neurovisor, because again, it's like doing tuning forks in a way, right? And so you're taking a look at this.
Can you turn your clock back? Time doesn't stop, but your brain doesn't have to age with it. Neurovisor uses light and sound stimulation to refresh your mind, manage stress, and help you feel younger naturally. Tap into neuroplasticity. Reboot your mental clarity. Reclaim your calm. Experience the shift. Neurovisor.com.
Okay, and those are something if people, like I said, if they're interested or they want to look at some of that stuff, give me a call, because I can show you some of this stuff really, really, you know, with some basic stuff I have in here. And again, these are so many different things, you know, where to start. And I realize it's confusing, you know, but like I said, you've got to do your own thing and do some of your own studies on this because I did. That's why I put these together for you guys, on here. So if we go back into what we looked at here, again, all those frequencies, right? They're changing the structure, not only of the fluids, the fascia, but the organs you're pitching in. Or I always think as organs as, basically instruments in the orchestra on there. So again, ties into colors, ties into shapes, vibrations, and things along that line. So in here as well, these are really kind of cool ones, but again, we're working again sound stuff as well. You can also combine with the different sounds that you can do for chanting. This is another one Sabrina put out. I just loved it because it actually should, DNA has got 3 strands, not 2, but minor details right now. But anyway, I want you to see that it actually is responsible to the tuning of what we use. That's why you can access it with music and with sound and with essential oils. And just remember, I was telling people, just like you have a visible thing that we see, that's why microscopes are limited. Okay, it's like looking at something. If you went around all day with a pair of binoculars or a singular ocular, what are you going to see? You're going to be missing most of it. And it's the same thing in the sound as well. So the sound range, I always suggest people go to the hearing test, do a hearing test and see how much you can't hear. And again, where's your audible range that you are picking up here? So again, there's those tuning forks for relaxation on or off the body. So again, this is what we're trying to do. So take a look at the waves, look at the lengths, look where the trauma can be impacted. It could be from recent, or is it creating a block or impeding? And again, it goes right through into the organ systems here. So again, whether we look at from colors to frequencies to the application, all sorts of things are out here. Ancient symbols, they've been around for just about ever, haven't they? Everyone's got a version of what we got. And again, this is a really great one here. I wanted you to see here. Okay, this is one of the ones off Eileen. And so I just chopped it out, but to let you know. So this is someone that would be 60 years old. So the most recent issues would show up in the biofield up here. So, if you got 7 different layers or 7 to 7, however you want to chop it up. So in this individual, almost every 10, 12 years was another kind of energy field. So that's what I see. Is it weak? Is it large when we do the biofeedback measuring in here? So that's kind of cool, isn't it? I just think that. So there's some more different things. Again, weighted, taking a look at some, combining it with the oils, combining it with hertz, frequencies, work with your different modalities. I work with crystals and crystal beds, by the way. And you can tune in all your different crystals to each chakra as well. I don't know if you guys know that. Make some gemstone water, make some essential oil water, and then put the tuning forks in there. And again, we're showing you just the metals and stuff, but they come in glass. If you've ever seen glass harps and glass tuning forks and in all sort of different materials, they're absolutely incredible, when you're taking a look at all this. So again, where are you holding the tension? Where are we holding the pain? Where are we holding the emotions? And again, we need to drain things below. So what happens, your spine connects up to the head. That's where coming in with some of these are. Again, we're not using this with Wi-Fi. Once I've downloaded the app, you can actually generate or do those tuning forks even off of here and put it through sound, light, or magnetics. But again, it can generate it and just put your glass of water on some of these devices. And these are pitched in. Ours are just pitched in beautifully. We have got ours all synced in. You can look at them on an oscilloscope and all those different things and see how Ryan has pitched these all in. So again, this is one of Solana's classes I did last October the 24th. So if you haven't seen my extended biofield, you get 3 hours with me sitting on like steam chairs and all sorts of things going through here. Again, take a look at some of these different modalities. I just love this, how the DNA, how everything correlates, how the pH correlates. Everyone's got a different version of it. How many? Is it 50? Is it 70? Is it 90 some? Whatever. We just need to get it in there. But we want to get people into those higher vibrations, right? And again, you can't see anything outside that visible spectrum that, look how limited to where we are. When, 80 to 90% of the stuff happening is actually outside your scope. And this is really important. If you kind of look at the bottom here, look how people start intertwining their energies, the transmission, the overlaps, the Vesica Pisces, the torides, all those sacred geometry things. But you can also see how you can connect to people and maybe not connect to them all levels. Where are those blocked? That's why people would court for usually 1 to 3 years, by the way. They would cognitively get rid of those blocks in between them, whether they're physically, mentally, emotionally, and they worked so that they were able to co-create on all different levels. And there's such a thing about connecting to people on all different levels. And remember what can happen. Just as easy as you can enhance and make your fields exponentially bigger, you can also do the opposite. People can drain your energy, just like psychic vampires. So again, this ties into the levels of consciousness. If you like that kind of theory, never quite liked the math myself on it, but again, a lot of people are quite aware of the Hawkins Power versus Force, or different books I had over the years with him. This is working in a 12-dimensional thing, but going up again, you can see the energy frequencies in the megahertz here. Okay, so take a look at in here. And again, emotion. So again, these are just really templates. If they fit, they fit. If they don't, they don't. Okay, so there's some really cool stuff, just keeping a little collection. So again, we need to be vibrating. We need to be up into those high megahertz. So do take a look. Those oils are going to get you there. Okay, it's not the same thing as a tuning fork, but my gosh, these things work incredibly. And microscopic food. A lot of these cross the blood-brain barrier here. So this is what we want to be doing. We want to be up, vibrant, and getting our groove on, right? Getting that stuff on. Okay, so there is a time and a place for certain technology. These are not wearables. These are actually putting in sound. And if people are not aware of Sabrina, there's some really cool Odyssey things here, or her synergy channels. I highly recommend, in there. Take things, learn with the great. This is the kind of stuff that is dangerous, though. This is when we're getting into these wearables that they want. They're not holistic. There's a smart technology. They're going in there using sensors to read the tech inside you. This is the scary stuff available now. Read your blood pressure, heart rate, monitor, pedo steps, whatever you want. This is where it gets into the dangerous stuff. And again, using some options here. Tobacco, get back into nature, grow some. If you don't, get some. There's homeopathics, there's liquids, there's the pill form. Like I said, there's so many different ways even to do that. Lorraine and I having fun in the clinic. We work on each other back and forth. Actually, it's our playtime. We test our supplements. Sometimes it will strengthen something, sometimes it won't. Okay, so you can see exactly what we're seeing in the biofeedback is correlating exactly to what we're seeing in the microscope. And you know what is more accurate? Do you guys want to take a guess? Do you think the biofeedback is more accurate or the microscope? Do, 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 do. Guess what? Biofeedback. And I find that when you're doing lab tests, we don't use the same lab values. We can actually run the same things. Actually even found some herbal things in here. Herbals, natural tobacco with clove and stuff too. Oh my gosh, surprise. If I can find it, like really, I wouldn't always want to do some of these patches. They're a clear patch, but they come with 100% essential oils and stuff too. There's so much stuff out there when you start looking. That, by the way, we were talking with some of the stuff. That was David Wolf. I was on 2 calls with him this month already. Again, borax. Everyone says, don't take the mule team, but most people have never seen the Eco Pioneer that you can order in, or a lot of health stores will have that brand, by the way. And, not that I don't miss nursing doing this kind of stuff, but nurses are being replaced, by the way. Have you seen these? They are now got machines to actually start your IVs now. And in some of the areas, they've replaced 95% of their nursing and phlebotomy staff. There you go. It's coming. This is one of the ones I just wanted to bring to your attention. If you haven't been to BitChute, it's called Quantum Chit Chat. And there's where I did actually about a dozen or so different informations. We talked about different spiritual traps, what is building community, getting back into balancing our energies, detoxing, electronic warfare, smudging. I talked about hair. I talked about water, talked about live blood cell, talked about more cosmic law. A lot of the stuff you're hearing about biofield, that was stuff that I did a couple years ago. Water is the essence of life. So I did a whole talk on water too. So if it's something that, floats your boat, I want to thank you for joining me on the Frequency Fridays. And hopefully you've learned a couple things. So like I said, these are really cute, by the way. I just found a couple more of them. These are on Etsy. They interface with a phone app or a iPad or tablet, you guys, or some of the Mac. But these interface with some of the biofeedbacks, and there's some really cool, funky stuff out there. So I was looking at some of these for one of the girls in Australia yesterday and today. And these are just amazing. So you can like power up. We got cute little rodent coils that plug into our stuff too. Look at that. We're just getting all the frequencies, right? And again, we're measuring all our stuff. We have the equipment, high tech or low. I used to build all these like light things way back 20 years ago and check if supplements were okay quickly. But again, this is what we want to do. We want to bring people from that vibration. You're seeing a lot of that stuck energy in the field, or someone that's been shat on recently, or energy hooks, or feeling, really run down. You can see how dark brown that is. And you can see how we start bringing them back to life, and we may have an, issue, clear some, go back. Then it shows us the next layer of the onion. Here you'll see a dark brown right on the right side here, which will be going into the stomach meridian, right? And then we're clearing them. We're strengthening up the field. We're getting rid of childhood issues, all sorts of physical, mental, emotional. We're building up the immune system, and we still have that core to get cleaned out, right? Down to the physical. So it's down to what is the pH? What are your minerals? What are your vitamins? How can we look at getting you from a diet? Giving them the graphs that they can go home and say, these are the oils you need. These are the foods to stay away from, the coffee or the barley or the dander, or did you know you have a pet allergy? Whatever. These are the different graphs we then provide people with. And, this is very interesting, by the way, and I'm going to bring this up because it just came up in our talks again. They are banning getting Eldon cards, okay, into Canada and the States from Europe. Okay, and there is a government department that tried to just order 1,000 of these, and they cannot be obtained. And I said, I'm sure I still saw them on Amazon.com, and there they were. Amazon.com still has Eldon cards. So if you want to test your what your RH factor is, your rhesus factor, and that's, are you AB positive or negative? It's not going to do all 50, but gosh, you'll get the first 8 anyway. And so in here, they're $9 US, I just found, by the way, and they ship to Canada. And I said, no, I'm sure they do. So I did find that today. I do want to affirm that. So anyway, these are different things. I developed some of the scans for this as well. I love doing this stuff. This is, you can tell this is live. Can you see they all look like, cute little circles and stuff. That's live. They're all floating around while you're there. You can always do your own on a slide, or have them sometimes send you a slide. And with dark field or dried, you can actually mail that into a therapist. Okay, so you can deal with some of the ones, like I deal with live blood and dark field out of True Health Canada there. So those are some different things, like I said, if you want to take a look at and go from there. So anyway, how was that? I'm trying to find where the stop button is. It's not stopping, and we don't want to end the stream yet. But anyway, something's really screwing up wonderfully. So I'm going back into stereo. So how are you guys doing? Everything, was that some amazing? You like that? Okay, so thank you, Karen. Wow, amazing options. Great. Oh my God. Wink, wink. Okay, and that is awesome. So that's where we wanted to learn some of that stuff coming into there. Okay, so start with where you can. One thing at a time. So I would think I want to do a little bit of my biofeedback. And again, I just want to play a few tunes for people, because I like to do a general healing for people, if I may. And I just love thinking that is just the coolest thing ever. By the way, I showed you those trays. I got some motherboard trays too. These plug into stereos, and I could have the whole place and sense around doing those type of things, right? So, and I did want to show you actually that neurovisor that I absolutely just adore now. Okay. this here, as you can see, there we go. This is the neurovisor, very, very lightweight, and it's very, very cool. Okay. So it comes with these different, again, it's light therapy, which is kind of neat. I don't know if you guys can see it here a little bit, flashing on and off. So we will get that. You just power this up and it can just sit here. So you could do light therapy technically without it here. But the idea is to actually put it on. And we have the app. And right now, seriously, some of these things, the Roxiva lights, you guys were like seriously $4,000 or $5,000. This is about $700, I think, on sale for $500. So if you guys are into people and sales, I found some on there. And no, as I said, the Genius does not go on a laptop unless you have a Mac. It's designed for the phone, iTablet, or an iPad. So an Android or an Apple version. And if you forget, you can go to Insight Health Apps. And right now, actually, what I'm doing is I'm actually downloading. It's got a body viewer, which gives us kind of like, you know, you see on those cute little YouTubes with all the digital stuff all going around. And it sounds like Bob's your uncle. And so into the things here, what it can do is go in. And there's so many, like Brent, if you want to go insighthealthapps.com or go to my link. I'll put the link in right now. But what will happen is if you go into that, I want you to go to what says software downloads. And if you go to the software downloads, all these different icons is a biofield application. Okay, so there's lots of them in here. So let me just pop that in the thing here for you guys. So again, phone, tablet, iPad, or going into that. But let's go into, I just want to show the neurovisor right now. And one of the things that's, you know, in here is you can choose basically all these playlists here. Like, and this is the thing I can't express is that all these different fractals are going like kaleidoscopes in your eyes. And it's so cool. Occasionally I'll take my hand underneath, right? And you see all purple, right? You take your hand away and it's just like you were like a little child playing with a kaleidoscope because it's so, so important to look at that. So let's say we wanted to put something on here. You're going to try it and it's got a sync. So we're going to connect in here. It will tell you how much battery we've got left here.
Close your eyes.
There we go. Close your eyes, you guys.
Take a deep breath in.
Take a deep breath in. So you can have it with or without sound or
And
with
a relaxing
meditation.
breath out.
Those people that need meditation, you can use it. Those don't like it. So I've got mine set for about 30 seconds. Janine Strong was using a lot of this too. And what it does is allows us for 30 seconds so we can put this on, go it onto the table or the amethyst bed or wherever you're going to snuggle up with a blanket. And then you'll see it will start flashing here in a few seconds. So it gives us 30 seconds to start going on here. Excuse me. And there we go. Now, can you guys see them flashing? Right? So, and then what I normally do is I will have headphones on, right? So there I look and I've got my little earmuffs on, right? But cool. I cannot express the coolest things in here. Now, as you're going through different flashings, let's just keep that on low here for a minute. So you're going to see that it's actually working here. Bring that over just a little bit. Get an idea of the flashing here. Okay. So you pick what you want to go into here. So these are also going in, a lot of them at 40 hertz to basically sync your brain together, right? Left and right. Putting that third one in the corpus callosum down. So I want to take a look because it's just amazing some of the things that people have just not been aware of, you know, in here. And like I said, you can do this. This is the kind of stuff that is not woo-woo, you know, and Wi-Fi kind of weird stuff, okay? So this is not working in that kind of realm. But in here, we're going to go back in quickly to my NeuroVisor screen. And away we go back to Facebook. God, I love that thing still. As you can see, I got a red dot, so I'm on like timeout again. Okay, so in here again, all the comments and a lot of posts are in here. Okay, there's 50 some comments I made. Okay, so in here there is a PDF. If you have questions, how to use, I have another instruction manual. You want to meet the developer, a friend of mine also, you can find him on Facebook, and he's got a Facebook group and he's got a YouTube group. Then we can go into what it's doing, how the biological age is being noticed to change and improve with the NeuroVisor. What we call is HRV, heart rate variability. In other words, it's kind of using it. So what you're doing is we're looking at kind of, I don't like the word biohack because it's not really doing that, but you're doing a brain reset with new neural pathways that help you focus. So any kind of stress, mental overload, people on addictions, there's a microdosing kind of scapes in here, just like I was showing you. And there's a whole thing. What are the benefits? There is actually Dr. Coldy Rowell is an MD. He's a military doctor. And he starts talking about the improvements. He thought, neurosurgeon, psychologist, we'll see what it does, psychiatrist, all these. And they went, we can't believe it. So he was actually a United States Navy trained psychiatrist specializing now in neurotechnology wearables. So he was actually the co-founder, and he said, hey guys, you can't meet this. So if you want to see the difference between what's something $500, this is better than Brain Tap and Roxeva that I've ever tried. Lots of comments. So we've gone out of 10 out of 40. So look at all the stuff I started putting in here. So when you start learning about what it's actually doing here, right? You're changing states of consciousness, right? How to relax in here. I just think it's absolutely amazing, you know, to create these states that we can use sound and light technology. Also, people having dementia, Alzheimer's. MIT is showing that if we can start stimulating you at 40 hertz again, the activity is starting to known as gamma oscillations, and they are associating with improving your senses, your spatial navigation, your attention span. So in here, and again, that's what we're doing when we talk about that. We're talking about doing 40 oscillations per section. These are psychoactive replacements. They are drug-free alternatives, and it can't get any simpler. All you need is 15, 20 minutes a day, if that. They found minimum 11 minutes was enough to do that. So take a look at these. And this is what we're talking about. You'll hear Sabrina talking about. What was she talking about? Consciousness, brain entropy. So this is where we are getting into that really fun stuff here. Okay. The entropy, or the complexes of what you call the EEG signals, change from consciousness to unconsciousness to the state that you are in. Are you in anxiety? Are you relaxed? Are you in delta? Are you meditating? And so it allows us to put you into meditation, especially if you're one of those people that can't meditate. And I don't like to meditate with people in the room. It drives me nuts. I don't even like to hear, as a rule, too much. You know, I'll listen to it for a minute or two. After that, I just want nice, quiet, or nice music. So everyone, there is something for everyone in these different things here. So what you're doing is, that's what you're changing, is it's a non-pharmaceutical method to put you into relaxation through the sound or through the light. Like I said, and you can turn the light on, you can turn it off, you can put it dim. All those things you can do just at a flick of a button. So you can actually control it. And there again, there's something really neat here. This is where we brought Genius and we put NeuroVisor together. So stuff that I make, I can actually put to those little, like, you know, codes. You're doing yourself, light codes or sound codes. So if you want to take a look at that, this is where we are actually seeing those differences I was talking about, right? This is actually measurable. It's improving us, the sound and the light, before and after. So those are really cool things. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think it's just the coolest thing ever. And, you know, like I said, there are ways to achieve some of this stuff, right? It's not that hard to do. So did you like these? What's your thoughts? Just put them in the chat room, a little bit of what you were thinking here. And again, you can go back in, you can shut it down, you can come back in, and back it goes to flashing again, right? So that's so cool, right? And again, you can change the sound, the pitch, the vibration. You know, I was like really, really amazed in how lightweight it is, you know. And like I said, if it's something that you don't want to do, I sat there the other day, my leg was a little sore, and I thought, why not put some of the vibrations of light, or, you know, if you feel stressed out, or throat or thyroid, or you got back pain, okay? All sorts of different things could be used to where we put it. So those are some of the cool things I thought that was really kind of neat on there. And I'm just going to give you a hint. That was at 40 hertz in there, but there's Tibetan. There's all sorts of cool things in here. And you can create these playlists as well to improve things that say like coordination and, you know, all sorts of different libraries. So these are the exactly. Brett goes very, very user friendly. You think you're up here. I don't speak Canadian. Anyway, better sleep, meditation, managing stress, regulate your mood, brain entrainment, brain gym. Okay, focus, neuroathletic. So again, focusing if you want to get into sports and peak performance. Creativity, self-exploration, habit rewiring, right? Weight, things like that. Processor. So let's say I want to look at some creativity or something like that. You can go in and look at all the different ones we can choose from. So maybe we want to look at dreamscapes. I went, you know what? I think I want to do this dreamscapes thing and see what happens. So it's going to do its little loading. It's loading up that particular one. There we go. It says 6 minutes.
Close your eyes.
We're back to this again.
Take a deep breath in.
You take a deep breath in, right?
And a relaxing breath out.
So yes, Judy, absolutely. Now what we're using is light and sound. Okay. So we're going to give it the 30 seconds. And again, you can do it right off the bat, but usually, you know, if you're a therapist like myself, you want to set your client up, get them relaxed, and I can leave the room, right? So they're all comfy and they got their headphones on and all that sort of great stuff. And then it will start up. So I've been using this with the biofeedback or this alone. So this alone comes with all those programs. There's 100 and some programs in here, you guys. Like, I'm not joking. So there it goes. Now it's going to start up. Right? And again, when you're using this with the headphones, now you're talking about solfeggio tones and binaural beats, right? So there it goes. And it works on 3 different kinds of lights and stuff like that. I'm going to go into this really in depth next week. But I'm going to download some stuff in there, and you're going to see how it works on the micro and the macro. Okay, so there we go. Clap it in. Yes, the Genius. You can get the Genius to interface. It's about another $200 to interface your Genius to go into here. Okay, but this is about $500 on sale at $700. Sorry, $800 on sale for $500. And then the Genius is about another $200 to interface all the Genius stuff in here. So you can make playlists in there. Oh, you know what? You can use headphones. You can do earbuds. You can do RF ones. I know some people, I'm not the biggest one on there. There are some people that want to do stuff. You guys have seen what's called bone oscillation, bone conduction. Okay, so they actually vibrate into here. So I could interface that if I wanted. And like I said, I really, for headphones and stuff like that, you know, you can actually get, you want to get expensive ones, go right ahead. But you know what? I've used just regular stuff that I've got around here, and it works just perfectly fine. And that's what I've been using with the client. So, yeah, juice up your Canadian. I'll put the website again here if it's something you guys are interested in. I noticed when I went to this website, Wayron's got it figured up here for the NeuroVisor. Type in NeuroVisor into the search engine. It used to be right on the side, and I don't know why it's been taken down. I'm going to ask him about that next time I talk to him. But basically, just type in NeuroVisor, okay, and right on there. So I think that's really one of the cool things. So what you saw is, you know, like I said, the people with the headphones, And then this is going on at the same time, right? And like I said, if you want to listen, you can have this running and still have the Genius running. So you're flashing this program and you can choose both things. So what I did actually the other day with the clients, because I was having way too much fun, I put the headphones on with this, I put this on, and I put the wrist straps, instead of on the wrists, I put them on their ankles, right? And she goes, oh my gosh, I feel the energy going up and down and up and down. And with that and the oils and the tuning forks and everything I did that day, her swelling came down probably about 20%. She came to me as someone that couldn't walk in excruciating pain, acidity, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So anyway, there you go. That's my new thing. And now you can see why I was so excited, because again, I like to beta test this stuff out. And again, precautions, like I said, when do you not use it? Well, we're not going to use it, obviously, if someone's got what? Sometimes psychiatric amazing stuff, bad drugs, right? Not a great time to do it. Eye infections, okay? People that have photosensitivity or recent eye surgery or seizuring, right? Because I'm not sure if you guys are aware or not, but what happens with people that seizure, right, is that they get these kind of halos, and strobe lights or disco balls can actually set off people, even fluorescent lights now these days. So those are some of the things I would suggest doing, you know. And some of the things too, like I said, you can use crystals. I have other things down here, powering up, I'll bring up, but I put them onto all my different plates and stuff like that. And you can start creating. They want to put a tower across, well, I'll put my tower inside here. So you can start doing some really fun stuff, right? When you want to start playing with things here, okay? Like I said, I'm getting very Star Trek-y. I'm starting to really enjoy it. So anyway, those are some of my favorite things right now. So tell me what you guys would like to know. If you want to have a session, I'm happy to do demos for people for 15, 20 minutes. And if you want to do into some sessions, like 30 minutes, 60 minutes, hour and a half, been doing tuning fork sessions, distant sound therapy and frequencies, you know, so doing sound baths, you can do that. Make sure you just have some headphones or earbuds. That's all you need. And seriously, people have gone to the dollar store and you're still getting that difference, but I really like those. So, and I'll do tuning forks from a distance. So anyway, I want to thank you for joining me, Karenann McDonald, Frequency Fridays. We're here on YouTube. I'm going to post this up again to my Rumble channel, my BitChute, my Odyssey. And great question. How do you book with me? Okay, that link I gave you up there will get me as well. But I'm going to put my email in here. It's clanmother13@gmail.com. I'll post it up here and we'll show it before I leave. I also have a Proton mail. Now, some people are getting banned from trying to get a hold of me. Surprise, surprise. So what I have found is that sometimes, and that's why I tell you, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on 2-3 Facebooks on that right now, Clanmother13, Clanmother Karen McDonald. I check my YouTubes and comments under there. I'll get a notification on Rumble or that. X, you know, your Twitter, LinkedIn, MeWe. I'm on Truth Social. What else? Discord. So there are some major ones in here. So I'm going to put those in. And what I'll do is we'll just show you again a fairly easy way to get a hold of me and going into that. And let's take a look at some fun things we can look at before we leave here. One of the things, we'll just put this one up here for you, and then you can copy that right out here. And I just find people are so visual right now. You know, a lot of people are having audibly to hear things. And I know I tend to speak fast as well. So if it's too fast for you, pause it, slow it down, or go to your speed thing and put it down to 3/4 speed. So what we're going to do here, we're going to look at one of the cards in here. So if it helps you, there we go. So clanmother13@gmail.com will get a hold of me. And again, I do land, I do water, house clearings, whatever you want to call it, different recovery programs. There could be pets, livestock, farms, acreages, ranches, all sorts of things. So all those things, sometimes people will book me to speak to their local, as friends, And I've had friends book for their other friends. I've had lots of different small groups, whether you call sovereign truth or freedom groups, book me out for quick talks and in any subject. So we can just focus on one or two subjects in here, on here. So like I said, that's some of the scanning that, we can go on. And more so what you're getting is the experience that you get with me, which is 41 years now in medicine, nursing, and everything else, but into here. And because of the focus and because of running clinics, we ran those clinics as natural emergency clinics as well. So there are a lot of things, give a shot this way first. And like I said, there are pets that can be done. We can scan those on. We have all sorts of things, Rife radionics, all sorts of stuff. And if you do forget, one of the things you can simply go to, if you ever forget that too, if you want to consult, you can actually always get a hold at Insight Health app. So I gave you that link that will take you in here, or they know how to get a hold of me. But if we want to try some of these things for trial, like I said, simply go into the little end there. It says software links. There is education, PDFs, training, YouTubes, all sorts of stuff here. But here's the training page. We have our own as well. But look at all the apps. This is, Brent, when you were asking, how many do we need here? Lots. Okay, so you could try quantum capsules or to send those to someone else. BioVibe is one of the only ones that really is a subscription. I think it's about $15 or $16 a month. I think it's $150 for the whole year if you want. I'm more into, for those kind of things, you can start putting in. But right now, I think what he's got is $47 down, and you can put that down and basically rent to own anything. So if you've got $47 US, you can basically get any of these. So a lot of these are like $200. Okay. And this one, for example, when you read about it or test it out, you will see that the actual Rife itself here goes from 1 to 20,000 megahertz. And we have special, what's called Baja tones as well. This is actually, to me, more advanced than Rife had because of the audio input and stuff and output that Ryan Williams has done. There's things to do with emotions. There's a lot of people like to put the fractals. This works with fractals, kind of like the Neurovisor, but this is where you put your water on or crystals, or people put their food on. And you know what? This is no joke. If you guys take these and download it, try the apps, put a glass of water on and taste it. Come back in 10 minutes after it's been on that or on a plate or with your headphones around a glass of water, and you're going to taste that it's sweeter, lighter, and they always say it's like slicker. So you can tell that it's restructuring the water. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff in there. There's stuff to do with essential oils. I've done, I don't know how many different oils. I've got thousands. So there's Young Living. I've got doTERRA. I've got Navessence. I've got Key Aroma, New Directions, Eden's Gardens. You think of one, I can probably have it in here. So I've got lots of stuff that I've made as well. The Odyssey, similar to the BioVibe, is another one that you can use between that and Dr. Debbie Drake. And again, hardware. So if you're looking for hardware parts, get a hold of me. Sometimes I know where you can get 3-4 other different types to look at, and they may actually be, less than what you're looking at. These are similar. People know about Tony Pantalesco. I was talking to someone today. I said, this is out way before. This is a solid, probably about 3-4 pound, huge neodymium magnet. These, and again, before the triangle and stuff like that were out. So we have things that work on different channels as well. So we've been, doing this for a long time in here. So like I said, if you do, knockoffs and bandage stuff, yeah, some of these you can do for a couple $100 worth of parts, or I think they all charge in here. But one of the things I wanted to get in here is also what we're talking about is if you want to take, people go, I don't know anything. It seems complicated. Oh my gosh, you guys are better at doing apps and stuff than I am. Like if you can run a dishwasher or, your washing machine or a microwave or something, you can do this. Right in here is a mini course, and all you have to do, it takes you probably not even an hour just to go through basics, and you've got the YouTube to back it. And here's the actual mini course. Like it doesn't get any simpler here, and they're giving it to you away for free. So all you have to do is sign up here, and you're going to get your free workbook and stuff like that. Training does matter. It gives us the foundation to what we're doing. in here. And, again, it's a new language. We're healing with quantum languages. You're putting in your own voice. And if you use your mother's tongue, you're going to be speaking original customs usage in language. What you say in English compared to your original mother's tongues are totally different. Worked a lot with Dr. Debbie Drake as well. She's a medical doctor that also was an emergency sports physician, became an educator in biofeedback like I did. So we've been at it for 25 years in integrative medicine, pulse EMF, and light therapy. She's internationally known as a professor. We've both worked at similar places, and we've done several shows together, including Carrie Cassidy's show. Denise does some really basic stuff, and I go in there and teach the summits every couple months, hopefully. So we've got a couple different naturopath doctors out of Italy. We've got it also going into Spanish. I've got a bunch of girls that are not only from Paris, but also from in France and from Quebec. And so they wanted to put a French group together. So I actually put them all together and they started their French group. So anyway, if you want to do sessions and stuff like that, you can get a hold of me. Okay. So there's a bunch of stuff in there, and that is what we have. And I would highly suggest that you go and you click on these manuals. Can't stress that enough. I got mine all printed out. So there we go, Brent. You have everything you needed to go. So that was huge. You're right. Why July? Hey, Karen, here from Synergy Community. Glad I caught the live stream. Oh, thanks. Great to have you guys in here too. I think most of us are. Why July, says Judy. Okay, so, and everyone's saying hi to each other, so it's great to see you guys in here. So what I would suggest, because I just started doing these back up, I haven't done a lot. If you go in it, and I joke not, I'm on everyone else's show and I don't do mine, right? So if you want to go in, and I'll just show you a couple things where if it's stuff that you're really interested in, obviously we're on the live stream, okay? But if you go to videos, you're not going to see other live streams I've done, right? Because you got to be on live stream to get the live streams, right? So in here, and a lot of people actually don't know that. And so one of the things in here, let's say I wanted to go in, I did one with Dorian at Debuma. So in here, I was actually talking with him here in July 4th. But those are some of the things. So if you want to see, that's where I got together, right? We'd been chatting, texting, and heard about each other. But he says, well, does anyone want to talk to me? I went, why not? It's coming up eventually, So anyway, but actually, if you put in Karen McDonald, even though I have my own channel at Karen Lusick McDonald up here, what you're going to see is a lot of stuff that I've done. So I've done things with Dr. Richard Allen Miller. I have done stuff previously with Judge Alfred Weber. I've done stuff with the super soldiers. We don't have to necessarily agree, like them, or whatever, or strike them. Okay. My role is to get information out to the platforms that I can. There are some, again, people are starting. Before we poo-pooed a lot of these people, we were also watching them. As you heard some of these people talk about, well, they were actually on their councils and working for these people for years before they got it, right? So again, there's a lot of people in there still that are looking for information, and people are at different levels, in here. So I've done stuff with Army, Navy, Space Force, blah, 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 blah. International, all sorts of things. Axiom Choice Canada, all sorts of things. These sort of situations we won't mention here. Ryan Veli's apparently taken down all his channels, I think except for his main one, but all his YouTubes and everything are gone. So anything that you want to see, thank gosh, we backed him up on a couple places here. Okay, consciousness, biofield. I actually was asked to do readings for people, so I did, Going into here, this is what Dr. Deborah Drake and I did. Toxic fogs, right? Myself, I'm a BASIS conference speaker and have been for 15 years. Most people don't know this. If you don't know who Cosmic Reality is, those are the people that wrote all about Shungite and Shungite Reality and the bees. And these are actually Army and basically the Electronic Warfare Security Intelligence Division people, by the way. Okay, so you'll see talking about different things. I did a couple shows also with Robert Bauer at Robert Bauer Media. Exopolitics TV. Again, a lot of things over the years, and then you'll see Shungite Reality. So you'll see some of these actually being moved over. Basis Project, Sergeant Patty Broussard. Recently, I just did one on Esoteric Guide. There's part 1. I'm waiting for Esoteric Guide part 2 to come up with Brett Louder, and I'm supposed to get off here, and he's supposed to be talking to me. I've already pushed him off. I said, I'll be back in an hour, but we'll get back to him here. So there's a lot of things in here down the rabbit hole, okay? Talking about different ideas. You can see how far long ago. Some of these go back before 20, by the way, 16, 2011, 12, 13, 14, and 16. Again, another one in here talking about with myself and in there. This is ACIO, Advanced Alien Intelligence Organization, Pine Gap, Australia's Area 51. So these are the different people to do with these different units and intelligence divisions here. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff in here if you want to play with it, and you can keep going and you can keep going and all sorts of stuff. Okay, so like I said, there is actually on this one in here, I did a resource many years ago, and those particular resources have PDFs attached to them, by the way. So this one here done with Dr. Ariel Pelicano, a naturopath doctor out of the States, Carrie Cassidy, a lot of these ones are in here, okay, to do with Stargates, Ascension, Injury, all sorts of stuff have been brought up in here. Truth Stream, Cosmic Reality, like I said, there's a lot of stuff in here. Biofeedback, Education and Experiencing. There's some of my own. Expanding Reality. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to Nathan. So many things. Andre Marino, Club 144. Into Alberta, Unscrew the News. Like all sorts of stuff over the years. Like I said, and a lot of these are out there. Working with Larry Levan. This is an amazing one if you're into Ekinar and all the Anunnaki and stuff like that. And trafficking on and off. This is very deep stuff that we were doing in here. Tapping into the inner joy. Pyramid One Radio. If you don't know, I actually had my radio shows actually for a couple years on Pyramid One Radio. I think they're still available, you know, going into here. So, and again, there are a lot of people that don't like what we're saying. Actually, I just noticed that. So whatever, these are people that were removed because they're actually inappropriate behavior. A bunch of people asked them to be removed. So, well, can't please everyone, and I don't really care to. So anyway, there are some things there. And again, I want to thank you for joining me. And you guys have a wonderful weekend. And again, if you have any questions, give me a call, right? Happy to do that. So let's just check here before we leave. Oh, dang, what happened to Ryan? Yes, I was wondering about him too. I got my first Omnivoice weighted tuning forks and activator today. Now you got to learn how to use it. Go seriously. If you go into, I just showed you my Facebook. Oh my gosh, I've got like about 10, 15 teachers in there. I don't know how many videos, and they're so excellent. You know, you'll sit there and you'll learn a little bit from everyone, right? That's all it takes. Is sometimes hearing it and seeing it and getting their explanation. Everyone's got their own viewpoint on it, which I think is amazing. And Carolee's in here. Topaz, great to see you. One of the things too, and I mentioned that in here, that if we go in and we take a look at that, you'll see that, and I can look at it again. I went to Rumble, and when I went to Ryan Valley, all this stuff is gone. So it no longer exists. He's pulled everything off. So unless he was on someone else's show when I did, you know, Truth Lives Here or different things like that, or sorry, he did. Those are about the only places you'll catch him, I think, on there. There was an incident, and do you guys know who Zish is? Does anyone in this community know who Tech Run Zish is? Speaking of brilliant guys and exposers in here. One of the things I'm going to show you on his particular one here is that he is actually got some very cool stuff if you're into tell stories. This is when Sabrina talks about the difference from going analog to digital as well. And so one of the things in here, I'm just going to quickly show you, because most people go, I told you about those plasma, like the Therify. I was kind of bringing you in a little bit into that, is that the Therify and Quantify and all those different ones here. But let's go, I'm going to show you what Zish is. So if you go to Tech-a-Run-zation, he's got some now YouTubes, and he's also got Telegram groups for people that want to play with the ether and stuff. I want you to see, look at that, you guys. That is a Tesla violet ray. You can have also orange or the violet or different colors in here. These are the original ones. A lot of them are usually $2,000 to $3,000, by the way. Okay, but on here, he's going to start showing you how these different things all operate. Okay, and there are so many different varieties of this. Again, you plug them in, and I've got small versions here. They were in Germany, all over the place. Every one of those is how they did etheric, or if you want to say psychic, psionic surgery, right? They used the plasma so you can go over, you would take down inflammation. So it didn't matter. It was working in the biofield. So you can work in the biofield and you can increase it up. It's got a little bit of a zapper to it.
Let me turn it on. It works really well. Just take your seat. I will definitely enjoy this.
See it?
Hope you guys can see that.
So those are actually some of the things like you can look at. These are really amazing devices. And like I said, there's one for the neck, the thyroid, the eyes, the ears, vaginal, rectal, spine, hair combs, again, essential oils, all sorts of stuff. These are really amazing stuff. So if you haven't seen that, but the reason I'm coming down to that is that he and Robert Bauer made some videos, and this is Robert Bauer's channel, and his channel is at Bauer Media and Nextcast and stuff like that. So on here, he's done a lot of talks, and Zish was on one. And one of the things they talked about is that when Ryan went down to Mexico, he hooked up with Jeff Berwick, who's known as the Dollar Vigilante. And when you go into the Dollar Vigilante, what will happen is that he basically, for a couple $100, and these are not Tesla, TZLA things you can hear about, they were basically trying to do get people into what's called private members, right? PMAs, the charter of they're the club. So you got to pay 111, so $11,100, and you too can join Jeff's new club. And for that, they'll give you some sort of a zapper, you know. So anyway, again, they're not really Tesla coils at all. These things are misleading, and there's different kind of coils and Uden coils and all sorts of stuff. And when you get into that, it's not too funny. So these are the people that actually took it apart. Yes, that is him from Wales. That's Zish. So in there, if you've seen that, they made an actual really interesting video about that. And Zish will come up, and if you are on Facebook, and like I said, he's got his own YouTube channel as well. And he did a thing with Robert Bauer Media on here. And actually, Robert's got really much into the consciousness technology. I appreciate people in here. One of the things I'm also going to show you guys as well, and you'll just see what a lot of stuff that I go into. So maybe sometimes these are things that you just need to take a look at, or why I'm teaching what I'm teaching in here. But if you go in and we take a look here, if you want to know about some of what I call tribal laws, Meredith Quinn, or you can put in Savantry. I did another bunch of stuff at Galactic Goddess, lots of stuff there. Jessica Morocco, Dr. Mayim Balak, that used to play on Amy Farrah Fowler. Actually, there she is at the Big Bang. Speaking of her, there she is. They're right on top of what we're doing. Again, put in tribal laws. And again, 54 videos I did. If you guys aren't aware of Project Ascension, not Ascension, Ascension here. There's 51 videos in there. Okay. So if you want all the strange, weird woo-woo stuff, that's where this stuff is going to be. But again, haven't done those for about 10 years or so. So anyway, those are some interesting things. But as we go into, and I just wanted you to take a look at Bauer Media here for a second, because I think what Zish did, and that's at Robert Bauer now, or Robert Bauer, in here, things talking about technology, some of the top people in the world he's been with, movers and thinkers, people that from remote viewers. I mean, excellent things if you're really into consciousness technology. He has been actually on Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, another one that I've done as well. So a lot of these, it's kind of interesting on here. Time travel series, different in here with Zish and a couple small ones in here. I've been in there too a couple times, and in the round tables. So these are some of their round tables that are being talked on. But I want to get you to take a look at some of the ones in here, because he was just actually on with Rocco Stuckey. I was like, really? But in here, so not too far back, you're going to see the one that he did. There it is, analog versus digital. Let's put that in there for you guys.
All kinds of evolution in that, but
Yeah.
the point that I want to make about what you just said.
Yes.
I look at the delineation between analog and digital as being one is organic and one is inorganic.
Yes.
Now, the importance, again, because of my geezer geekness, rubbing my face in tech for decades, the power of the tech to automate, enhance human capabilities and needs for information, for aggregation of information, for analyzing information. There's nothing, you can't do that. What's available today, you can't do with a book or a library. Okay.
So these are some of the things, but if you go into, there's a deeper explanation here as to basically what was going on with this kind of technology. And so they went and they exposed a lot of that. So that's some of the places in here, and it's called Ancient Wisdom and Digital Technology. So there's the long version. Let's give you guys that, because I'd like to have that kept in here as a memory.
Zish, welcome to the Nexus.
There we go.
I really appreciate you taking the time.
So let's leave you guys with that. Oh my gosh, 2 hours and 6 minutes. There we go. So you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll catch up with you later. And Brett said, yeah, that's what I saw. Yeah, so take a look at that. I think there's a lot of stuff in there. But if you're into consciousness technology, Robert Bauer's on some of the forefront of it too, you know, and how we can use some of this stuff appropriately, right? Like everything is discernment. Like I told you, that's how I started off, was ranting about all that stuff today, right? First it was the chiropractor, then it was the osteopath, and some woman that doesn't know what she's doing, right? Charging, you know, putting everyone and their dog on that. So like I said, you got to discern stuff, right? That is the key, right? And so like I said, if you want to do some sessions, give me a call. Happy to do it. You got some questions, let me know. Okay. So anyway, take care. Lots of love. Be well. Catch you guys later. We'll end the stream now.